Howdy. Every theme, be it sci-fi, fantasy, horror, it has its fair share of titles that instantly come to mind when you think of video games. But what about westerns? You know, cowboys and Indians, showdowns, train robberies, saloon girls, horses that have no names and such. Sure, these games exist, but unlike seemingly every other popular theme out there, most western games have sort of fallen into obscurity. So how's about we unobscure them, partner? Yeah, it's about high time some of my favorite hootenannies get the recognition they deserve. Dadgummit. Yeah, the cowboy talk isn't doing it for me. But the sombrero stays, damn it.
How's it going?
Morning, mister.
Hello, mister.
Morning.
Hey there, mister.
Good morning to you.
Take, for instance, the Nintendo Entertainment System. If I said NES Western, you probably immediately thought Wild Gunman, right? Yeah, but what about the lesser-known hidden gem by Capcom called Gunsmoke? Or Gun Smoke. Why is there a punctuation mark there? Gun Smoke is probably one of the earliest examples of a cowboy-themed video game with that arcadey shoot-'em-up goodness. You collect and buy upgrades like a shotgun and a mag num. And a POW block? You can even get a horse that unfortunately acts not only as a speed boost, but also as a shield from getting instantly killed. Oh man, why does it have to lay there like that when it gets shot? Yeah, you don't shoot someone's horse, man, you know? You can also collect cow skulls, but I don't know what they do. I assume it's a bad thing. This game is great for how simple it is, like any classic NES game. You shoot your way through a gaggle of baddies and fight a boss at the end who has their own gimmick, like boomerangs, fireballs, and... Wait, is that a ninja? And the level is called Death Mountain. You mean to tell me that this Japanese video game isn't based on the 1955 American television show? Maybe that's what the random period was for. Wouldn't want anyone to get confused, would you? The only real downside this game has is it sure does make my thumb hurt after a while.
Hello, mister.
Hey, boy. Ma'am?
How do you do? Hey, now.
Hey there, mister.
Hey.
Hey, mister.
Hey there, mister.
Hey there.
Hey there.
Partner.
Guess that's that.
Moving ahead to the wild frontier of the SNES, apart from single levels of games dedicated to Western themes and a movie tie-in, there really were only 3 Western games worth mentioning on the system, and one was an arcade port. The other are both robot-themed, interestingly enough. Also not to be confused with a TV show, Tin Star is a cartoony Western where all the inhabitants are robots. With your typical Western game, it's usually a shoot-'em-up, a first-person shooter, or a third-person action-adventure. But Tin Star is instead a rail shooter, where the titular hero jumps around the level on his own volition through no input from the player, meaning the controls are really janky and slow. A D-pad was not meant for aiming shots, and it doesn't take long before you become overwhelmed by the sheer amount of things you need to gun down to stay alive. That being said though, the game's style and humor is very endearing. It's actually a funny and cleverly written game. A great example is when Tin Star enters town and accidentally squashes a flower, only to find out it belonged to a famous outlaw who gets mad when people step on his geraniums. To which Tin Star's cohort, Mo, states, "There's something fishy going on here. I think that geranium was a plant." Come on, that's so good.
Howdy, y'all.
How do you do?
Hey there.
Why, hello there, sir. You're behaving horribly.
I'm only kidding around.
Another Wild West meets robots game that takes itself a little more seriously is Wild Guns. Another rail shooter, this time made by the company that brought you Harvest Moon and River City Ransom. The aesthetic this time has a bit more of an anime style to it, which reminds me a lot of Trigun. Also this time around you can actually control the cowboy to avoid the shots coming your way. The controls though are still a little weird. For one, you have to mash down the shoot button. If you tap it for individual shots, the character will sometimes start to wind up some electric lasso and leave you completely vulnerable. And I never fully understood what you were meant to do with the knife guys that walk right up to you. Sometimes it looks like the character is winding up a bat or something when I hit one of the trigger buttons, but then they don't do anything. The best I've come up with is that you have to move the cursor over the guy as well as hit the trigger, but even then they'll still just hold it like that and never swing before getting their asses stabbed. So in combination of moving the target over them and hitting the trigger button, I also hit the shoot button. I don't know if that's the legitimate way of countering these guys, especially since it seems like a lot of work just to take out one threat, but it's never failed me since. This game has so much style and detail that it kind of makes me wish I knew what the story is here. The best I can gather is that Clint and Annie are either trying to stop a massive heist or commit a massive heist that for whatever reason involves a trip through a canyon, a gold mine, an ammo depot, and a train. But that's what I like so much about these Western games, their use of the themes and settings of the Wild West in unique and fun ways. Which leads to...
Hello, ma'am.
How you doing?
Watch yourself!
Show some initiative. Take life by the horns.
Konami, to borrow a phrase from the 90s, was da bomb when it came to arcade ports back in the day, and my all-time favorite will always be Sunset Riders on the SNES. It's just so stylish and colorful. I'm a sucker for that over-the-top and romanticized take on the Wild West. That, and this one has all the staples of a Western, like booze and hookers. Even though those were censored out of the Nintendo version, obviously. But you got your train chases, saloon shootouts, cattle stampedes. They even have someone use a boilerplate as bulletproof armor.
Bulletproof vest! Great flick! Great friggin' flick!
Of course, being an arcade game means it's a pain in the ass to beat. Just because it circumvents the need to feed it more money to keep going, doesn't mean it isn't gonna go down without a fight, I suppose. Since it's a shoot 'em up, there are times where the game gets bullet hellish. In some cases, there's just nowhere to go to avoid them if you don't get the rabble out of the way in time. So Bob and Cormano are your best choice of characters, because they roll up with that spread shot. Yeah, I can't be bothered to line up shots when there's a tidal wave of slow-moving, flashing bullets heading my way.
You all right, man? All right, man. Don't worry about it.
Each stage has you facing off against wanted criminals in the Wild West. Some of them are pretty straightforward after you've eliminated the accompanying posse of cannon fodder, like Simon Greedwell and Hawkeye Hank Hatfield. Some seem tough at first until you figured out their patterns and safe zones, like Dark Horse and El Greco, not to be confused with the famous Greek painter. I know, it's easy to get the two mixed up. And then there's Chief Wigwam, my white whale when it comes to this damn game. Every other boss up to him I could handle and even perfect with a little practice, but without fail, every time he will just eat up all of my continues. He leaps from the ground between these three stones, and each time he does, he throws three knives in a spread that require you to be in the pixel-perfect spot between them to avoid. They go so fast, you need to know when and where they'll be coming from at a moment's notice to even have a chance at avoiding them consistently. But where Wigwam is going next is hard to determine most of the time, so it's really just a guessing game paired with lightning-fast reflexes. I have never been able to beat this guy without using emulator cheats. But I still gotta try. I don't know where I went there for a second. I just kind of went into the zone. Oh man, how did I do that? I want to be able to beat him again. Wigwam's not even the last boss of the game. He's the third to last. And the dude after him is a joke in comparison. The extra middle finger to this fight is he's the only boss in this game you don't kill. No, his frickin' sister shows up to save him at the last second.
Don't shoot my brother. He's only following orders.
Just following orders. Yeah, you know who else said that? Yeah, a little known group called the Nazis. Yeah, anybody? The final boss, of course, is appropriately insane as well, but I would argue easier than Wigwam, thanks to the power of bullet immunity while leaping up and down ledges. It's more a war of attrition than anything else. And him being some tin horn dandy residing in some immaculate manor is a nice touch. And that's really it for the Super Nintendo Westerns, but would you believe there's even fewer Western games on the Nintendo 64? Yeah, there's about like 0, to be exact.
Hey, folks.
Partner.
Gentlemen.
Hi there, mister.
Can't you
Hey, come on, what are you doing
Nice
this
to see
for?
some friendly faces around here.
What the
Hi,
hell is
folks.
going on with you?
Monsieur.
Hello, man.
Hey,
Howdy,
I think
fellas.
someone far away is
Hello,
calling
dear.
you. Go see him.
Nice people around here.
But then we got Red Dead Revolver in 2004, which led to the series we all know and love today, and that arguably made Western video games more of a mainstream concept. But there was another game similar to Red Dead that came out just a year after Red Dead Revolver that just sort of rode off into the sunset and into obscurity. Gun. Yeah, that's a silly title for a game. It gets the point across, I guess. This game came out during the GameCube, PlayStation 2, and original Xbox era, where the concept of an open-world Western game hadn't been made popular by Red Dead Redemption yet. Gun was one of the earliest pioneers of the genre, and was developed by Neversoft, of all things. Yeah, you may recognize them as the company that made Tony Hawk Pro Skater. So if you check out their development history, you'll see they spent a good 5 years pumping out skating games to suddenly this. Yeah, it's a hell of a change in priorities. But it's a fun little Western adventure if you're not in the mood to get involved in a sprawling epic. Back in the good old days where whiskey healed you, any and every horse was free for the taking, and every video game cowboy had the magical ability to slow down time. You play as Colton White, who, while working on a riverboat with his pa, witnesses a preacher murder a lady, shoots down a small army of renegade Confederates, learns his pa isn't his pa, and manages to survive the steamboat exploding. Colton is then set on his adventure to uncover the secrets his non-pa was hiding that caused the massacre of the riverboat, his first lead being to speak to a whore named Jenny at the Alhambra in Dodge City, which is just over the river and through the woods to get a proper poke.
God damn it, girl! How long we gotta wait before we get a proper poke?
With access to a horse, a rifle, and a 6-shooter, however, the poking can wait, as this game has numerous and very clearly marked side quests. Or you could just ride around town and do horse drifting. Yeah, that's always fun. There's Texas Hold'em, bounty hunting, Pony Express jobs from a guy named Earl, and even the occasional odd jobs for the Marshal of Dodge himself, like stopping a drunken brawl.
There's a blow-up over cards at the edge of town. Go and stop the drunken poker brawl in the alley.
By murdering the absolute shit out of everyone. I like the Marshal though. He's a pretty laid-back dude who doesn't seem very fazed by all the death and chaos that seems to perpetually be happening in Dodge City. All this is to get some upgrades to your skills and also to collect some cash, which can then be spent at the shop for more improvements to gear, health, and stamina, and a scalping knife. Yeah, you can scalp people in this game, and there's absolutely no point to it. So Jenny has the scoop that the evil preacher came from Empire City, which she's also planning on heading to. leading to a mission that works as sort of a grand tour of the game's map while riding a stagecoach shooting Apaches.
This whole area is done for. Don't
By today's standards, this open world game's map is pathetically minuscule. You can ride from one end of the map to the other in less than a minute. But I kind of like that about it, you know? It makes the world more memorable and intimate. Every corner is used in some way or has something interesting going on in it. Plus, I feel there's something to be said about a game world that doesn't take fucking hours to get from point A to point B. If, you know, say I'm in Empire and want to go do a quest in Dodge. Those are the only two cities in the game, by the way. Dodge City, Kansas, and Empire City... I guess it's supposed to be in New Mexico, even though no such city exists.
Son, you've done the town of Empire a great service. I'm Mayor Hoodoo Brown. Should you ever need any assistance, please don't hesitate to ask.
Yeah, the game likes to incorporate real-life places in the United States, which is a unique touch, though it does lead to some confusing moments when given directions. Like when you're told to hunt a mountain lion that lives in the Northern Rockies, which isn't labeled anywhere on the map, so you're just gonna have to use your imagination to determine what the game would consider the Northern Rockies. Just wandering around the map and drifting your horse into all the nooks and crannies of the world does have its advantages, though, as you'll find hidden veins of gold that you can collect if you bought the pickaxe from the general goods vendor. There's 44 in all, and no matter how many times I've played this game, there's always a few that elude me, and I have to look it up. I really miss that kind of scavenger hunting for upgrades in video games, though. Like the heart pieces in Zelda, it's simple, yet fun. Back at Empire, Jenny gets a shave, and Cole discovers the preacher and the mayor of Empire are both working for a man named Magruder, an old Confederate commander who knew his pa and seems to be after something of his. Then Cole gets tossed into jail and breaks out with the help of a safecracker named Soap and a member of a band of rebels named Port, leading to what I think is meant to be a stealth mission. You're given a bow and told by Port,
Do yourself a favor if you can stay out of sight.
But honestly, I don't think this game was meant to actually have stealth in it. There's just no way that I've ever found to remain undetected during this part. I mean, this is what happens when you sneak up on a guy.
Stop, there he is.
Granted, this still counts as a stealth kill, as no one ever comes to their aid, but, you know, it just feels a little janky. As a new initiate in the rebellion, Cole meets their leader, Clay, who also happens to know Pa, because it truly is a small world, after all, and helps execute a counterattack on the mayor of Empire.
I'm Hoodoo Brown!
You were.
But in the meantime, there's more side missions to jump on, including hunting and ranching. The hunting missions require a bow to complete properly, otherwise you don't get the full rewards for the kill, and involve a very meticulous mechanic of sneaking towards the animal until you're in just the right distance to pull off a headshot. Otherwise, the sucker just runs away, or in some cases, runs directly at you. The rancher missions, on the other hand, are just as boring and tedious as you'd expect ranching to be. It's a lot of herding mechanics with the occasional pew-pew moments to keep things interesting, but it does tell a pretty nice story at the end. The last two missions have you help the rancher send his cattle to Dodge to be sold, and then ride with him to Empire, where he plans to take a train to greener pastures. There's just something about riding into the sunset with the theme music playing that feels like the end of a long and memorable journey. Oh yeah, the music in this game is actually pretty amazing. They may play the main theme a bit too much, but it's a good song, so I hardly noticed. As the game progresses, the rest of the side missions up the ante in difficulty and throw some unique twists into the mix. Except for the bounty missions. Yeah, they're Always pretty straightforward.
Turn myself in? Never! Killing that whore was my one reason for living. You robbed me of my revenge.
The only annoying thing is, to take bounties alive, you need to get within melee of them to knock them out, which wouldn't be a problem if a lot of them weren't on horseback, meaning you have to kill the horse in order to get them on the ground. You don't shoot someone's horse, man. It's not right. Pony Express missions, though, are by far the craziest as the game reaches its climax. A lot of riding around like mad from one point of the map to the other, with natives around every corner looking for blood and a very unforgiving time limit. It's so hectic. I frickin' love it.
I tried to hold him off.
Well, you didn't try hard enough, Willie. And after the last Pony Express mission is done and dusted, it turns out Earl was really a ghost the whole time. Ooh. Yeah, the game likes to fake you out with the quest-giving NPCs. It's buggy, but in a charming kind of way. Like when I was hanging out in this barren valley and all of a sudden I could hear the chatter and foley of Empire City. Yeah, it was a pretty eerie experience. Without giving too much away about the rest of the game's plot, it essentially turns into an Indiana Jones movie, where the big bad is looking for a lost city of gold, and Pa was in possession of part of a relic needed to find its exact location.
Behold his kingdom. There, they missed the mark. It's above the mine, not below.
They're digging in the wrong place.
Meanwhile, Magruder, having a general idea of where the relic pointed, has taken it upon himself to establish a massive mining operation in order to find it. Cole, with the help of the Apaches, breaks into the mine and has an epic final duel with Magruder amongst towering spires of gold. Also, you get a dynamite bow, which is pretty sweet. Gun is undoubtedly a hidden gem, especially for anyone who's a fan of games that take the idea of the Wild West and turn it into its own mythical world of larger-than-life characters and incredible displays of skill and bravery. It's also one of the earliest games I recall that tracked how much of the game you've completed with a percentage. Mining every gold vein, finishing every side quest, buying every upgrade. I will always remember this game for being one of the first I think I 100% completed, and even had the game reward me for doing so. With the evil preacher's metal as hell horse, and a shotgun that shoots cannonballs. Yeah, it's just a shame that none of it carries over into a New Game Plus, and is mainly used for terrorizing the unsuspecting rabble of Dodge City.
Hello, ma'am.
Hello there! What on earth are you playing at?
I am in a good mood for some reason.
What's the issue here?
Hello.
Oh mon Dieu! Leave me be.
Take it easy. I'm just needling you.
Yeah, well, nowadays you can find Western games just about anywhere, if you know where to look. Like on Steam. And they now cover just about any game style imaginable, like the turn-based RPG Boot Hill Heroes, survival horror Blood West, and even a trilogy of tactical stealth games called Desperados. There's also the amazing Call of Juarez Gunslinger.
Yep, the Apaches always appeared out of nowhere, and there never seemed to be an end to them.
Hold on, were you attacked by Apaches? What happened to the cowboys?
Did I say they were Apaches? I said Clanton's cowboys attacked me Apache style. I was in a pitched battle, but I was holding my own against an overwhelming enemy force.
Which may appear as just another first-person shooter, but it's also an educational game when you think about it. The story gives tidbits of factual events of the West and its many heroes and villains, and the secret collectibles are bio-excerpts of those same characters. So yes, a stylized and arcadey shooter, but it did make me learn something too. Just saying.
I don't want trouble,
folks.
damn it!
Monsieur?
Bien le bonjour.
Partner? Content de vous voir. Hey there. Careful.
Stay there! This ain't happening! What's the matter?
All of these are still lesser known games that don't get the recognition I think they deserve. But by far my favorite lesser-known modern cowboy game is the Half-Life engine-based Fistful of Frags. An arena shooter with a plethora of different game modes, weapons, and a point system based on how simple and low impact your weapon of choice is, called notoriety. For example, killing someone with a lucky shot from a Colt Navy is going to reward you more notoriety than safely picking off hombres from meters away with a Sharps. So there's incentive in using the harder to perfect weapons if you want to be top of the board. Or you can just get an insane kill streak with one of the more powerful weapons. But I like that the choice is there. This game offers a lot of choices, even down to bonus guns you can pick up from various chests throughout the map, that you have to buy with money earned through the notoriety you've gained. The real gimmick to this game, though, is how it handles combat. Running and gunning isn't going to get you very far, as your chance of hitting what's in your crosshairs goes down significantly if you don't slow down and carefully aim your shots. It's a frantic shooter that rewards patience and a clear head, which I find fascinating and really addictive. Though it also makes getting those sweet kills that much more of a challenge. The game does incorporate a hand preference selection to improve your chances, depending on the weapon and what hand it's in, and even an option to fan the hammer, for what it's worth. But the problem is, I just plain suck at aiming, even in normal shooters. Look at that hand. Steady as a rock. I shoot with this hand. It doesn't help that I like to hang out at bars where there's a hefty supply of hooch to go around, which of course heals you, as is tradition, but also predictably messes with your ability to aim temporarily. But that's what makes Fistful of Frags so cool, is its attention to detail and subverting the first-person shooter genre with a sense of realism, like lining up shots and putting up with horrendous reload times. And a fair amount of focus on balance. It adds a strategic depth to the genre that I've never really seen before. Of course, I praise the game for realism, but a lot of fights end up breaking into kicking matches, because back in the good old days of the Wild West, people typically resolved their differences by booting each other into the stratosphere. If you want to find out more about the game, there's a pretty sweet video by Tehsnakerer who went full in-depth, as he does, with this game, and I think was what introduced me to it in the first place, so yeah, I recommend that as well. But, you know, to wrap this whole thing up, I like Western video games, and you should too. The end.